Algebra folks. This is Mrs. Gwines, and we are going to be talking about multiplying fractions today. So with that in mind, we have these notes. I have uploaded the PDF in your folder, so you can either print them out and write on them, or have them side by side on your screen to write along with us. So your SWOBOT for the day, if you're keeping up with SWOBOTs in your spiral notebook, today students will be able to multiply and divide fractions. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the steps for multiplying fractions. The first one says write all mixed numbers as improper fractions. That should be our first step when we're dealing with fractions at all times, because improper fractions, or fractions with one numerator and one denominator, are just way easier to deal with. So we're going to write all mixed numbers as improper fractions. Then we're going to simplify up and down and along the diagonals if possible. So we'll talk about that in a second. Then we're going to multiply the numerators to get the numerator and multiply the denominators to get the product for your denominator, and simplify if needed. Okay, so let's take a look at number 1. It's 1/2 times 4/5. Okay, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to see if I can simplify anywhere. Can I simplify 1/2? Can I simplify 4/5? And not only that, I'm going to see if I can simplify along the diagonals. So here, 1 and 5, that can't be simplified. But 2 and 4 can. So I'm actually going to simplify 2 by 2, and I'm going to get 1, and 4 by 2, and I'm going to get 2. So the answer here is 2. 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 5 is 5. It's 2/5. If we had done it the other way, if we had just multiplied across, we would have gotten 4/10, which, if we simplified it, would simplify to 2/5. So it doesn't really matter if you forget the step to simplify. It just makes it a lot easier, because generally you don't have to simplify as much if you do it within the actual products. Okay, take a look at number 2. And the first thing I want you to see if there's any way that you can simplify across in the actual fractions or across the diagonals. Is there a way to simplify this? If you answered yes, you're absolutely right. Okay, 1/9 can't be simplified. 3/5 can't be simplified. If I check the diagonal here, 1 and 5, that can't be simplified. However, 3 and 9 can. So I'm going to divide 3 by 3, and that equals 1. And I'm going to divide 9 by 3, and that equals 3. So now when I multiply, I have 1 times 1, and 3 times 5, which is 15, 1/15. If I were to do this without simplifying it, 1 times 3 is 3, 9 times 5 is 45. I can simplify both of those by 3, and I get 1/15. Okay. Let's kind of kick it up a notch, and let's think about this number 3. It says 1/7 times -1/5. Well, here, there's no way to cross simplify. 1/7 is in simplest form, 1/5 is in simplest form, 1 and 5 can't be simplified, 7 and 1 can't be simplified. So I just have to multiply across. But now I have to be really careful, because it's a -1/5. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply. 1 times 1 is 1. 7 times 5 is 35. But then I have to remember my rules for multiplying and dividing integers, right? If I multiply something with 2 different signs, then my answer is going to be -1/35. All right, so let's talk about number 4. 4 has 2 mixed numbers, and I've already shared how I feel about mixed numbers. We've got to make sure that these are improper fractions first. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 5, and then I'm going to add 1, right? So 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. So this is 11/5. I'm going to multiply it by 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So now I have 11/5 times 5/3, and I check to see if I can simplify. 11/5 is fine, 5/3 is fine. 11 and 3 can't be simplified, but 5 and 5 can. I'm going to simplify by 5, so this is going to, if I divide by 5, this will be 1. And if I divide by 5, this will be 1. So now I do 11 times 1 is 11, and 1 times 3 is 3. 11 and 3 is in simplest form, and we're going to keep it as 11/3. Remember, because we are done with mixed numbers. We're breaking up with them. All right, let's take a look at number 5. Number 5 has -1 and 1/3 times 1/2. So here, again, I have to change this into an improper fraction. We forget about the negative until a little bit later. So I'm going to multiply 1 times 3, and I'm going to add 1. So that's 4/3, and then I put the negative in, and we're multiplying by 1/2. I check to see if I can simplify anything, and I can. I can simplify 4 and 2 by 2. So this becomes 1, and this becomes -2. So now I have -2/1, which is just -2. Go ahead and take a second and give a try to number 6. The video will be back on in a minute to talk about our answer. So we're back, and we should have -2/3 times -14/5, because 2 times 5 is 10, and 10 plus 4 is 14. So in this one, there is no cross simplifying to happen. 2/3 can't be simplified, 14/5 can't be simplified, and there's nothing to cross simplify. So when I multiply -2/3 times -14/5, I get +28/15, because a negative and a negative multiplied together is a positive number. So we get 28/15, and we leave it that way because no more mixed numbers for us. Okay. So we're going to talk about dividing fractions next. And these notes are borrowed from another math teacher friend. And so the steps that we're going to use, there's an acronym she uses. I'm not going to spend that much time talking about the acronym. It's just important to know that we got to do something different. All right, so the first step for dividing fractions, we're going to write mixed numbers as improper fractions. That's the same first step for all of our fraction operations. And now the second step says change to multiplication and flip the second fraction to its reciprocal. Okay, and quite frankly, I have no idea what KISS stands for. So we're just going to cross that out. And we're just going to pay attention to this one word, reciprocal. When we divide fractions, we're actually multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay? And then I go through the steps the same way that I did for multiplying fractions. So in some ways, this is a lot like subtracting integers, right? Where we LCO to get it back into addition problem. We change this into a multiplication problem by flipping that fraction to its reciprocal, so we can just get back into multiplication. All right? So then let's take a look at 1/6 divided by 1/5, number 7. All right, so there's nothing to change here. There's no mixed numbers to change. So I'm going to keep the first fraction. The division sign changes to a multiplication, and 1/5, the reciprocal, is 5/1. So now that I have it into a multiplication problem, I just follow the steps. I multiply the numerators, and I multiply the denominators, and I get 5/6. And that's it. Also, you can do the step where you cross simplify if you need to. In this case, we did not need to. All right. All right, let's take a look at number 8. We've got 3/4 divided by -1/2. So I'm going to write 3/4. The division sign changes to a multiplication sign, and the negative 1/2 changes to its reciprocal, which is negative 2/1. So now I take a look and see if I can simplify anything. I can't really in like the regular fractions, but I can diagonally. So this becomes 1 and this becomes 2 because I simplify by 2. And now I get negative 3 halves. All right, go ahead. The video is going to pause and you can give number 9 a try. It's negative 4/7 divided by negative 8/9. The video is going to come back on in a second and we'll go over the solution. Here is your solution to number 9. So we keep negative 4/7. We change the division problem to multiplication. And then we make negative 8/9 into its reciprocal, so it becomes negative 9/8. The negative signs don't go anywhere, they stay. And then I figure out if I can simplify anything, which I can. The 4 and the 8 can be simplified by 4. So negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So then I just multiply across and I get 9/14. And it's positive because I'm multiplying two negative fractions together. All right, so in number 10, we have to change these into improper fractions first. So I get 21/10 and 14/5. That's still a division problem. I don't flip it until I get them all arranged. And I gotta make sure that this is a negative sign. So I like to take it one step at a time instead of doing all the steps all together. That way I don't miss something. So now I have 21/10. This changes into a multiplication sign, and then I get 5/14, and that's negative. So now I check out if I can do any simplifying, and I can do a lot of simplifying here. I can simplify this by 5. So now those are 1 and 2. And I can simplify this by 7. So this is 2 and 3. So now I have negative 3/4 when I multiply. Let's take a look at number 11. We're going to change these into improper fractions first. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 2 is 30. So I have negative 30/7 divided by 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4, so 4/3. Now I think about the process with the reciprocals. So I change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and the reciprocal of 4/3 is 3/4. I check out if I can do any simplifying. I can do this by 2 and this by 2, so this is negative 15. So then I get negative 45/14. All right, give number 12 a try, and the video pause here. Give it a try, and we'll be back on with the solution. So here's a solution to number 12. 2 3/4 as an improper fraction is 11/4. And 5 is actually, as a whole number, we just place it above 1 to show that it's so that's an equivalent fraction. 5 divided by 1 is 5, so that's how we write a whole number. And then we change it to multiplication of the reciprocal, and we get 11/20. All right, so that is our lesson for today. You're going to have a few questions to work on in Schoology, in kind of like an exit ticket way. And tomorrow we'll be staying with these notes, so make sure you keep them in a safe place because we're going to focus in on word problems. And I think that's it. If you have questions, you know where to find me. Email me, and we'll talk soon.